Hi guys, Assalamualaikum and greetings. Welcome to the 7th chapter of this MKT 420, and in your textbook, the chapter 7 covers in chapter 10 and also 11. Therefore, I divided this particular lecture into two videos. So the first part, we're going to learn about pricing, understanding and capturing the customer value, and later on, you can refer to chapter 11 in your textbook, will be the second part of chapter 7. So let's look at what will be the learning objective for this particular chapter. There are three things that we're going to learn here. Do you see my what I call this frame with the snow? It's winter season right now, so we are in the Christmas mood kind of thing. Anyway, there are three learning objectives in this particular video. The first one, to answer the question what is actually price, all right, and discuss the importance of pricing in today's fast changing environment. So as you know, there are 4 marketing mix, your 4 P's, and we have covered the previous chapter about the product, okay, and now we're going to learn about pricing. Okay, the second learning objective, which is to identify the 3 major pricing strategies and discuss the importance of understanding the customer value perceptions, company costs, and also competitor strategies when we set the price. And lastly, in this video, I'm going to cover with you the importance of external and internal factors affecting the firm's pricing decision. So let's get started. Look at the first learning objective, which is to answer the question, what is a price? So do you know what is a price? You buy things, right? Before you buy things, normally you will look at the price tag, right? So that is the price that you see. So what is actually a price? It is actually the amount of money charged for a product or service, or it's the sum of all the values that customers exchange for the benefits of having or using the product or service. So bear in mind that price is not actually the actual value of the product, but rather it is the amount of the perceived value that people were willing to spend on when they wanted to acquire the product or the service. Because let's say an iPhone, for example, okay, how much does this particular iPhone cost? This is just iPhone 11. We talk about iPhone 12, for example. I'm not so sure yet how much is the price that they will put for Malaysian iPhone 12, but let's say it is cost you about 5,000. So 5,000 ringgit is the price for you to acquire the iPhone. But the actual value to some people should be less than that, or could be worth it for you to spend your $5,000 or 5,000 ringgit to buy the iPhone 12. Okay, so it is actually the amount of charge or the amount that you put for a product or a service for your customer to spend on so that they can get the product. If you are the seller, you price that particular product at 5,000 ringgit. So that is actually the money that you charge for the product. Okay, while to the customer, when they see the price, okay, that 5,000 ringgit, it is the sum of all the values that the customer will exchange for them to take the product and get the benefits of using it or acquiring the service. Okay, now let's move on to the second learning objective, which is to identify the 3 major pricing strategies. Okay, so basically there are 3 strategies that we can look at, which is on the cost, okay, on the competitors, and also the consumer. Okay, so when you want to set a price, okay, the strategy could be whether to use the cost price, or is it the competitor's price, or you can also use it as the price, or you can set the price based on your consumer's perception of the value for the product that you are selling. Okay, so by looking at this particular figure 10.1, consideration in setting price, you can consider to set the price basically based on the cost of you producing the product. Okay, so that is the product cost, which typically the product cost will be your price floor, okay, or the floor pricing. That means that will be the lowest price that you can set. If you set the price below this production cost, you will not be getting any profits. Alright, on the other extreme, which is the price ceiling, Right? This is whereby you will set the price at maximum as possible, okay, according to how you think consumer will actually perceive the value of the product, right? But you have to remember, the you can't actually tell the perception of consumers towards the product before you sell it. All right, because if based on cost, you can calculate your cost, how much you already spend to produce the product, but then later on you will just mark up certain amount so that you will be able to gain some profit. But when you talk about the consumer perception of the value, you can't really tell how much were people willing to spend on this particular product if you don't have any track record, right? Unless you have a very well established brands like iPhone, okay, Louis Vuitton, Prada, for example. Okay, so for a handbag, a Prada handbag, okay, the cost could not be exceeding, let's say, $1,000, but Prada handbag, okay, is being sold at, let's say, $20,000. This is dollar, yeah, right? Yeah, $20,000. So the consumer will perceive the value of that particular Prada bag, okay, which basically the consumer perception of the value could be your ceiling price, okay, or price ceiling, which if let's say you put or you set the price above this particular ceiling price, there will be no demand for the product, okay. Well, another strategy that you can use is actually competitors pricing, okay, whereby you will look at the competition and also other external factors like your company strategy, okay, your marketing strategy, your objective, and also your marketing mix, as well as the nature of the market and also the demand. Okay, look at here. If the customer perceives that the product's price is greater than its value, they won't buy it. Okay, and if the company's prices of the products is below its cost, then company will suffer because you will not be gaining any profit. So between the two extreme here, then you have what they call so-called the right pricing strategy, is one that delivers both values, okay, to the customer and also to the company's profit. Okay, so that is when it is so important for us to know what is actually the value pricing, okay, which uses the buyer's perception of the value rather than the seller's cost. So the value-based pricing is customer-driven, while the cost-based pricing is product-driven. All right, so the price is going to be set to match the perceived value. Okay, this is the comparison, yeah, between the cost-based pricing and also the value-based pricing. So remember just now when you talk about cost-based pricing, this is when you talk about how much is the cost that you produce, okay, and then you set some price based on the cost, and then you convince buyer to buy the product's value. While when you talk about the value-based pricing, you will first assess the customer's needs and values perceptions, right? And then you set the price to match the customer perceived value. You determine the cost that can be incurred. Then you actually design the product to deliver the desired value at the target price. Can you see the two difference here? This is when cost-based pricing, you first started to produce it, and then you calculate your cost, right? You set the price, and you make sure people will buy according to the price that you set. But here in value-based pricing, you will actually first think, how much will customer willing to spend on the product, and what will be the value that you will bring to the customer, and then you start to set the price, determine what will be cost incurred, and you design the product so that people will actually buy the product. Okay, so actually the customer value based pricing is actually a good value pricing. Alright, now when you talk about the good value, it is offering just the right combination of quality and good service at a fair price. Right, so you will go to the supermarket or the shopping malls and you'll be able to see a very big poster about a value buy. Okay, do you always see that value buy? Now value buy is not necessarily a cheap prices, okay, but a value price, a good value price, is actually telling customer that this is actually a worth for customer to spend their money, right, which is it's not necessarily like it's cheap, okay, but it is valuable. according to your money and the value that you will get when you purchase the product. Okay, and then there is also what they call the everyday low pricing, the EDLP. Okay, in marketing we always call this everyday low pricing as EDLP, which involve charging a constant everyday low price with few or no temporary price discount. So this is whereby you will always put this what they call certain price, okay, or a constant everyday low prices on the product itself. Okay, I think if you go to E-Mart, right, supermarket, E-Mart supermarket, they will have this EDLP every day, all right, whereby there are certain products that they will set at very low prices, okay, which you will see that over a period of time or every day you will see there is no discount on that product because it's already cheap, all right. Next is the high-low pricing. Okay, now what is this high-low pricing? It involves charging higher prices on an everyday basis but running frequent promotion to lower prices temporarily on selected items. Okay, so again, typically if you go to the shopping malls or supermarkets, right, on the weekdays, okay, weekdays, typically they will have the normal prices or higher prices of the product, but at the weekend, right, Saturday, Sunday, or even they started at Friday, Saturday and Sunday, then they will start to do some promotion to lower down the prices temporarily on selected items. Okay, so that is when they call it the weekend sale, for example. So that will be the high-low pricing. So people who buy things on weekdays will be paying more expensive than people who purchase the product over the weekend, because in the weekend they will have the what they call promotion, okay, where they will reduce some of the price percentage. For example, today is Tuesday, right? So I went to E-Mart just now and then I bought the chili sauce. Okay, the price of the chili sauce is 5 ringgit 95 cents, right? But over the weekend my mom went to the E-Mart, same place, okay, the price of chili sauce is only 4 ringgit 20 cents, right? So you see the prices change. It's just few days, right? And they normally do that over the weekend because to encourage people to buy over the weekend, right? Because typically people don't buy things at the supermarket in the weekend because they normally go out and dining out, so they don't really cook over the weekend, right? Right, so the value-added pricing, which attaches the value-added features and services to differentiate the company's offers and thus their higher prices. So you can also set the price of the products or the services that you offer slightly expensive, okay, because you added the value to the price itself. All right, so this is where some people, they are willing to spend more, okay, because of some value-added services that is been attached to that particular shop or place. Okay, for example, if you go to let's say, I don't know, you've been to if you're in Kuching, you know, you will be in the spring there, the spring shopping mall. There is Takyong, right, supermarket. Okay, so Takyong supermarket, and then there is also CS supermarket everywhere. The shop lot is like everywhere, right? So you can see that if you buy groceries, okay, if you buy groceries, you will see that some prices of the product is totally different. Okay, it's the same product, but then the price of it is totally different, like difference in like 50 cents or 40 cents different. Okay, but if it is one item, then it's fine. But you're talking about, let's say you buy 10 items, okay, or 20 items with a difference of 40 cents each or 50 cents each, then it will add up to the total bill, isn't it? So why Takyong would put that higher prices? Okay, perhaps because of the value added that they offer in that particular supermarket compared to CS supermarket. There is an example, right? So other than that, you can see that sometimes the value-added services, okay, are not simply or not so obvious. Okay, it could be just very simple, like for example, the trolley. Okay, there are trolley cart whereby you can actually walk through all the aisles comfortably, all right? Compared to, let's say, CS supermarket, if you have been there, okay, you will see that if you bring a trolley inside that particular shop, then you will have difficulty moving around because the aisles is very narrow, okay, and there are a lot of customers there, and when two customers bring one trolley each, then you wanted to cross each other, you cannot do that, right? But let's say at Takyo supermarket, then the space is very large, right? So you will have the comfortability. So that comes with the price, okay? Other than that, of course, you can see a very typical one like Malaysia Airlines and also AirAsia flights, alright? So Malaysia Airlines set that particular price for their airline tickets because of the services that they offer. Compared to AirAsia, all are basic. There's not even any service that they will offer to you except just you bring the ticket, you check in yourself, you put the bag yourself inside, you put the luggage tag yourself, you go to the boarding hall, and then you do all by yourself, right? But in the Malaysia Airlines, for example, then they will add on other services whereby if you want to check in your luggage, they will do it for you, okay? So that is actually the value added pricing, which attached to the value added features and also services. Next, the cost-based pricing. Okay, like I told you, the cost-based pricing sets a price based on the cost of producing, okay, basically production lah, which include producing, distributing, and also selling the product, plus a fair rate of return for effort and also risk. So this is some markup that they will put to the price of this cost-based pricing. Okay. There are actually two elements in the cost-based pricing, which is the fixed cost. I think you are a finance student, you should know this, right? Cost-based pricing. To set a cost or to calculate your cost, there is a fixed cost and also variable costs. Okay, so fixed costs are of course those costs that do not vary with production or sales level. So no matter how many you produce or how much or how less you produce, fixed costs will always fix. Nama pun dah fix kan, so it's always fixed. Therefore, it will always be constant. Alright, regardless you produce more or you produce less, fixed costs are constant. Example of fixed costs includes rents, the heats that you need to pay. This is during winter lah, for example, or the electricity. Oh no, not electricity. During winter, they have this particular ventilation for the heat, yeah. Okay, some interest rate that you have to pay, this is normally fixed, and also some executive salaries, because payment for the salary is fixed. Okay, whether they can sell or they cannot sell, you still pay the salary for your workers. Okay, while the variable cost, it varies, it differs. Okay, it fluctuates. If you produce more variable costs. If you produce less, there will be less variable costs. Okay, example like the raw materials and also the packaging. Okay, so when you calculate the cost-based pricing, you will look at the total cost, which is the sum of both fixed costs and also variable costs for any given level of production. Okay, now looking at this particular graph, yeah, figure 10.3, cost per unit at different levels of production per period. Alright, this SRAC is actually short run average cost, alright, while the LRAC is long run average cost. Okay, cost. Long run average cost. You try to pronounce that. Okay, let's say for example here the company, okay, the graph shows that this one is the 1000. When the company try to produce at 1000 unit, okay, how much will be the cost per unit? It will be here. Okay, this will be in the short run. But if let's say you talk about in the long run, okay, in the long run, if company produce 1000 ringgit, you will see that the cost will be more expensive. Okay, well, if you produce at certain it will be lower, okay, at certain value or certain production units, yeah, which is at, let's say here 3000. So if it is best in the long run that the company actually perhaps invest in, let's say, a bigger plant here means the factory, yeah, when you want to produce things. Okay, so produce it in the bigger plants or bigger factories so that they can actually achieve this lower cost per unit in the long run. Okay, And this figure 10.4 will shows the cost per unit as a function of accumulated production. See, as you know that cost per unit will be cheaper as you produce more because you achieve the what they call economies of scale. Now, let's look at the benefits. Yeah, so the cost plus pricing adds to a standard markup to the cost of the product, which the benefit will be seller will certain about the production cost. Okay, because you will know how much you will incur to produce the product. Okay, and price competition can be minimized so that you will understand that your competitors also might actually produce the product at similar cost like what you are having. So if let's say both of the competitors are using this cost-based pricing, then the comparison in terms of the pricing will not be that much. All right, and buyers will feel it is actually fair for them to buy at the cost plus pricing, while the disadvantages ignores the demand and also the competitors' prices, because not all competitors will actually have the same or similar cost. If you have a bigger or larger company or larger factory, perhaps you can produce it at a cheaper price. But if you have a very small company, then you may not be able to sell the product at a very cheaper price. Take a good example of course in Sarawak here we don't have the gardenia bread, yeah, gardenia bun. Why gardenia bun and bread can be sold at a very cheaper price compared to the prices of the buns and also breads that you buy from a bakery? Okay, you see, because bakery is just a shop lot, okay, that produce all the products, okay, all the buns and also the breads. With their capacity, the cost that they incur to produce in that particular amount, because they can't produce like 10,000 units of buns. Unlike Gardenia, for example, they have a very big factory and they can afford to produce 10,000 units of buns because they can distribute it all over West Malaysia. All right, yes, that is what happened. I've been to Gardenia factory before, so I can see how much is the production that they will actually make in a day. All right, so compared to bakery, okay, they can't afford to produce even 1,000 units, all right, because not everyday people will actually come to their bakery shop or bakery stores to buy the product. So they will be having the difficulty to compete with the Gardenia buns, right? But of course, if you want it to be homemade kind of thing or bakery made, typically they will add to the value pricing, which is you will spend a little bit more expensive because you can get a freshly baked buns or bread. Compared to Gardenia, they will say, okay, they made it today, but then the shipment could be 2 days later, then you will reach the customer. So by the time you eat, it could be like already second day or third day of the bun. All right. So here you will be able to see just some analysis on the break-even pricing, which is where you should be setting the price, okay, to break even. That means on a certain point whereby you will know that if I produce less than this, I will not be gaining any profit. So I need to produce more than that so that you start to gain profit. Okay. I think you have learned break-even, right? Break-even pricing. Okay. This is the example you can see here, right? This is another example. Break-even volume and profit at different prices. Okay, you will be able to see here. When you set the price at 14 ringgit, the break-even units that you need to sell is at 75,000. Okay, if you set the price higher, then the unit will be lower. But you have to understand that not necessarily if you put a higher price, a lot of people will actually demand or willing to spend or willing to buy the product. Okay. Next is the competition-based pricing. Okay, so the competition is basically about your competitors. All right, this is where you set the prices based on the competitor strategies, cost, prices, and also market offerings. Next, moving on to the third learning objective, and I think this is the last learning objective for this particular first part of your video, yeah, which is to identify and define the other important external and internal factors affecting a pricing decision. Okay, first, you first need to consider, all right, what would be the consideration or the factors that affects your price decision. Okay, it could be your overall marketing strategy, objectives, and also your marketing mix. Remember your marketing mix? There are 4 marketing mix. This is pricing. So the 3 are product, place, and also promotion. Okay, so first you need to consider the target costing, which starts with an ideal selling price based on the consumer value considerations, and then you target the cost that will ensure that the price is met. Okay, before you set a price, okay, you must have in mind already what you want to produce. Okay, and when you have that in mind, what to produce, you will know what will customer value the product. Okay, so from there you set the target cost. That means if I were to put this particular product into the market, how much cost will I incur? Will it actually exceed the price or the value that the customer are willing to pay to get the product? All right. Next is the organizational consideration. Who will be setting the price and who can influence the prices? Typically, those who set the price will be between the engineering department, okay, the manufacturing department, and also the marketing department. Of course, the finance department will also want to say, hey, we should put more prices because we want more money. Okay, the engineering will tell, hey, you should put this particular price because this will be the cost. So the marketing department will actually tell what will be the value that the customer is willing to spend on the product that you sell to them, okay, or to the market, right? So who can influence the prices? Of course, the top management or the shareholders will also want to influence the prices that you set. Okay, so before setting the price, the marketer must understand the relationship between price and demand for its product. Okay, because you need to understand whether you are in the pure competition market, a monopolistic market, or oligopolistic, or a pure monopoly. Are you taking any economy paper this semester? If you are taking any economy paper, then you should be able to know what is this pure competition, monopolistic, or oligopolistic, or even pure monopoly. Okay. Now, in analyzing the price-demand relationship, okay, you know there will be a demand curve that shows number of units the market will buy in a given period at a different prices. So demand curve will actually shows that typically the cheaper the price, the higher will be the demand, while the expensive, okay, the higher the price, the lower will be the demand. Yeah, like things that are expensive, people don't want to buy. But things that are cheap, yes, everybody wants to buy. So you will be able to see that how does this particular demand change, yeah, according to the different prices that you can actually set. So demand and price, their relationship is inversely related. Inversely meaning opposite, yeah. And you can see that higher price will result in lower demand, but lower demand will result in, lower prices can lead to higher demand. Okay. Next, let's look at the price elasticity of demand. Now, price elasticity of a demand, okay, of demand or price elasticity itself is a measure of the sensitivity of demand to changes in price. Okay, price elasticity, whether people will be sensitive or not if there is a price changes. If it is inelastic demand, inelastic, it is when demand hardly changes with any small change in price, while elastic demand, it is when demand changes greatly with a small change in price. Now, this price elasticity can be seen clearly when you do a comparison of a product. When let's say price, when we talk about inelastic, inelastic, that means it is not moving, it is still there, which is good. because if you put higher prices, demand is still there. If you put lower prices, demand will also still be there. But when you talk about elastic demand, when the price increase, your demand will totally drop. Okay, but when you talk about when the price decrease, okay, this is price decrease, demand will actually goes up. That is when you talk about the elasticity of the demand towards the elasticity of the price. Okay, then here you have the other consideration, which is the economy, okay, and other external factors like the economic condition. Are we in a recession? Are we in the what will be the inflation rate? Okay, now because of this COVID-19, you might want to think of how much you want to set on the price, okay, because of this economic condition. Of course, you will look at, because of this, as you know, because of this pandemic, right, the interest rate drops, yeah. So how much price you should set? Okay, you look at that. The next is the reseller's response to the price. Resellers is related to the distributors or the retailers, all right, other people who actually sell it. Let's say you are the manufacturer, all right, you sell it to the distributors or the retailers. This is when you talk about it involve intermediaries, yeah. How much would they willing to take the price from you, and then how much would they actually can mark up the price? Okay, because if you buy from factory, it will be cheaper. Let's say you are IMAT, so IMAT buy from a factory, that will be very cheap prices. Now IMAT wanted to sell to the customer. How much would IMAT want to gain profit from buying from the factory to sell it to the customers? Okay. Other than that is the government. Okay, like if you remember last time when the government set the price of a piece of face mask, yeah. Previously it was so expensive, right? Then the government put the ceiling price. A face mask shouldn't be more than RM1, okay, per piece, right? And other than that will be the social concerns, right? Social concerns could be anything that consumer, especially the consumer unions, yeah, or consumers club, but here in Malaysia we call it the consumers union lah, or the under the Ministry of Consumers, yeah, whereby people are also causing certain prices that are being put so high, okay, and that is when government actually intervene into that particular price setting. Okay, so with that we finish the first part of this particular chapter 7. You will see me in the next video for the second part. Thank you guys.